They were ready to confront him. 3 hours late, $45,000 wasted, an entire crew waiting. The director had rehearsed his speech. Then Marlon Brando stepped in front of the camera. One take later, no one mentioned the delay again. Not because they forgave him, because they couldn't. The call time was 8 a.m., Thursday morning, mid-budget production, 3 weeks into shooting. A drama about family dissolution. Heavy material, good script, talented director, professional crew, and Marlon Brando, who was supposed to be there at 8 a.m. for a scene they'd been building toward for 2 weeks, an emotional confrontation, 4 pages of dialogue, the kind of scene that could anchor the entire film if done right. The crew arrived at 7 a.m. Set was dressed, lighting rigged, camera positions marked. The other actor, a veteran character performer named Tom Renshaw, arrived at 7:30, in makeup by 7:45, reviewing his lines, ready. 8 a.m. came. Brando's chair sat empty, his name on the back, the set waiting. The director checked his watch. Anyone heard from Marlon? The assistant director made a call. His assistant says he's on his way. How far out? She didn't say. The director nodded, stayed calm. This happens sometimes. Traffic, delays, normal production stuff. They'd wait 15 minutes, then shoot. 8:15 came, then 8:30. No Brando. The crew started sitting, grips on equipment cases, electricians on ladders, the camera operator leaning against his rig, Tom Renshaw in his chair, still holding his script, occasionally glancing at the empty chair next to him. By 8:45, the frustration was starting to show. Whispered conversations, glances at watches, the director pacing near the monitors, the producer on his phone, calculating. Every minute of downtime cost money. Union crew, equipment rental, studio overhead, location fees. The math was simple and brutal. Sitting around waiting wasn't just annoying, it was expensive. 9 a.m., 1 hour late. The director called Brando's assistant again. Where is he? He's on his way. That's what you said an hour ago. I know, he's definitely on his way. The director hung up, looked at the crew. Some sleeping now, others playing cards, the energy completely dead. Tom Renshaw had stopped reviewing his lines, just sitting there, patient but clearly frustrated. The producer approached the director. This is costing us $12,000 an hour. I know. I know. So what do? We wait. Can't shoot the scene without him. We could shoot around him. This is his scene. We're shooting it today. Schedule says so. We wait. The producer walked away, muttering, calculating how this would affect the budget, how he'd explain it to the studio. 9:30. 90 minutes late. A grip near the back said something to the person next to him. Others heard. Quiet laughter. Agreement. The director heard the tone, if not the words, knew what they were saying. Who does he think he is? This is the 3rd time this week. Why do we put up with this? All valid questions. The director had asked himself the same ones, multiple times, including this morning while staring at his coffee at 6 a.m., knowing this might happen, knowing it probably would. 10 a.m. 2 hours late. The director was pacing now, rehearsing what he'd say, how he'd say it. This had to stop. Contract or no contract, talent or no talent. You couldn't just disrespect an entire crew like this, make people sit around, waste their time, waste the production's money. He'd tell Brando, firmly, professionally, but clearly, this was unacceptable. They had 3 more weeks of shooting. If this continued, they'd discuss alternatives, meaning replacement. The director didn't want to say it, but the implication would be clear. The assistant director approached. Still no word? No. Crew's getting restless. I can see that. What do you want me to tell them? Tell them we're waiting for Marlon. When he gets here, we shoot. That's all we can do. The assistant director walked away. The director kept pacing, looking at the empty set, the lights burning, The camera ready. Everything prepared, just missing one person. 10:30. The producer came back. This is $45,000 in downtime now. I'm aware. We need to do something. Like what? He's under contract. We can't just replace him. We could fine him. His contract allows for reasonable delays. 3 hours isn't reasonable. Then we'll discuss it with him when he gets here. The producer shook his head, walked away again. Tom Renshaw was sitting in his chair, eyes closed, either sleeping or meditating. The makeup person had checked his makeup twice, touched it up. Nothing else to do. The crew had given up any pretense of being ready, just waiting now. Cards, crosswords, naps, the energy of a working set completely gone, replaced by the dead air of expensive downtime. 11 a.m. 3 hours late. The director stopped pacing, stood near the door, waiting, his speech prepared, mental bullet points, clear, firm, professional, but unmistakable. This stops. Today. Now. No more 3-hour delays, no more disrespecting the crew. Either show up on time or we find someone who will. The words ready, the tone calibrated. He'd been working on it for an hour, knew exactly what he'd say. 11:03. A car pulled up outside. The director heard it before he saw it. Engine sound, door closing, footsteps. The crew heard it too, sitting up, looking toward the entrance, the energy shifting from resignation to anticipation. Here we go. Marlon Brando walked in, coffee cup in one hand, script in the other. Not hurried, not apologetic, moving like a man who owed no one an explanation. The director moved toward him. Marlon, we need to... Brando looked at him. Is the camera ready? Yes, but we need to talk about, then let's shoot. Marlon, you're 3 hours late. I'm here now. Brando walked past him, toward the set. Are we shooting or talking?
I apologize to Paramount Pictures for suggesting they treat actors as inventory. Upon reflection, I realize I was imprecise. They treat actors as assets, which is somehow worse. Inventory can be sold. Assets are leveraged. I apologize for not being clearer in my original statements. When I said the industry has become more corporate, I should have specified corporations optimize for profit, not art. There's nothing wrong with profit, but when profit is the only metric, art becomes incidental. Paramount has mastered this optimization. I apologize to any actors who felt I was speaking only for myself. I wasn't. I was speaking for every performer who's been told their creative input isn't welcome because it conflicts with marketing strategy. For every artist who's watched their work edited not for narrative coherence, but for runtime that allows an extra screening per day. For every person who signed a contract thinking they were joining a creative partnership and discovered they'd joined a corporation. I apologize for implying change is impossible. It isn't. Studios could choose to prioritize art alongside profit. They could treat talent as collaborators rather than as costs to be managed. They could remember that films become classics not because they were efficiently produced, but because someone cared enough to make them great. I apologize that this apology will be considered insufficient, but I cannot apologize for telling the truth, and I cannot retract observations that remain accurate. Sincerely, Marlon Brando. He read it one more time. Perfect. Every sentence structured as apology. Every sentence escalating the original criticism. They'd reject it. Of course they would. That was the point. He sealed it in an envelope, delivered it to Paramount Friday morning. Jonathan Pierce opened the envelope at his desk, started reading. By the third paragraph, his face was red. By the fifth, he was standing. Get the others, now. 10 minutes later, all 3 executives stood around his desk, reading the apology. Silent. Finally, one spoke. Is he serious? He delivered it with a straight face, Pierce said. This isn't an apology. This is an editorial. This is worse than the original interview. Pierce picked up the phone, dialed Brando's number. It rang 8 times. No answer. He tried again. Same result. Get his lawyer on the phone. 5 minutes later, Brando's lawyer was on speaker. Your client submitted an apology. Yes, he told me. This is unacceptable. It's not an apology, it's an attack. He apologized multiple times. I counted at least 7 separate apologies. He apologized for things we didn't do. He apologized sarcastically. Sarcasm is subjective. The text reads as apology. Tell him to write a real one. We want a genuine retraction, affirming respect for Paramount. No editorializing. We want it by Monday. I'll relay the message. The call ended. Monday came. No new apology arrived. Nobody moved. The camera still recording for a few seconds because the operator forgot to stop. The director sat back, stared at the monitor, replayed the last 10 seconds in his head. Print that, he said, quietly. The script supervisor looked at her notes, at the script, at what just happened. Do you want to go again? The director kept staring at the monitor. No. Just one take? Moving on. Tom Renshaw stood there, took a breath, processing. He'd been in scenes before, good scenes. This was different. He couldn't name why, but he felt it. Brando walked off the set, picked up his coffee, sat in his chair, opened a book, like nothing had happened. The crew started breaking down the setup, moving to the next scene. Quiet, the usual chatter absent. The producer approached the director. Are you going to talk to him? The director was still watching the monitor, the playback, frame by frame, Brando's face, Tom's reaction, the whole thing. About what? The director said. About being 3 hours late. The director kept watching. No. No? No, I'm not. The producer stared at him. We just lost $45,000 waiting for him. I know. And you're not going to say anything? The director finally looked up. What do you want me to say? Don't be late while we're using that take? The take that wouldn't exist if I'd replaced him or fined him or threatened him? So we just accept this? The director looked back at the monitor. I don't know. But I can't yell at someone who just did that, the director said. Not without admitting I'm only yelling because I can't do it. The producer walked away, frustrated. The director stayed, watching the take again. By lunch, the entire crew had seen the playback. Word spread. The grips who'd been complaining, the electricians who'd been napping, everyone found a reason to walk past the monitors to see it. The grip who'd said, "Who does he think he is?" 3 hours ago was watching it for the second time, silent. His colleague next to him. Jesus. Yeah. That's why. What? That's why we wait. That's why they pay him. That's why he gets away with it. The camera operator was reviewing the footage technically. Focus points, lighting, frame composition, all perfect. But that wasn't what mattered. What mattered was happening in front of the camera. I've shot 200 films. I've never seen anyone do that in one take. Neither have I. Does he always? Yeah, he always does. Tom Renshaw was in his trailer, eating lunch, thinking about the scene. He'd been prepared, had done his work, been ready for 3 hours, but when Brando came in and flipped the scene into something else, Tom had to let go of his preparation and just be present. That's what good acting was, being ready to throw away preparation when something better appeared. He'd worked with a lot of actors, stars, character people, newcomers. Brando was different. Not better necessarily, just different. Like he accessed something most actors couldn't reach, or wouldn't, because reaching it meant giving up control, and most actors needed control. The director sat in his office, script open, looking at the 4 pages they'd shot.
All the dialogue, all the stage direction, all the careful construction. Then he watched the take again on his small monitor. 40 seconds. Different words, same meaning, better delivery. He picked up a pen, started crossing out lines. The scene worked better compressed. He'd written it long because he didn't trust the actors to carry the emotion without the words, but Brando had carried it, with fewer words, more silence, more face. The director made a note in the margin. Rewrite scene 47 the same way. He was learning, slowly, that less could be more if the actor could fill the space. But only if the actor could fill the space. Most couldn't. Brando could. That's what he was paying for. That's what the 3 hours bought. The next morning, Friday, 8 a.m. call time, different scene, same actor. 8 a.m. came. Brando's chair, empty. The crew looked at each other, then at the director. The director looked at his watch, looked at the chair, said nothing. The assistant director approached. Should I call? No. We're just waiting. Set up for the scene, he'll be here. When? The director turned away. When he gets here. 8:30. No Brando. The crew set up. Slower than yesterday, but no complaints, not out loud. 9 a.m. Still no Brando. Lighting set, camera ready, the other actor in makeup, waiting, like yesterday, but the energy different, not angry, just waiting. 9:30. A grip was reading a newspaper, another doing a crossword. The DP checking camera settings he'd already checked twice, everyone finding ways to fill time. 10 a.m. The producer walked past, saw the waiting crew, looked at the director looked back. The producer kept walking. Nothing to say. They'd had that conversation yesterday. 10:30. Tom Renshaw was reviewing his lines. Not stressed, just prepared. He'd learned yesterday. Be ready when Brando arrived, however long that took. 10:47. A car pulled up. Engine sound. Door closing. Footsteps. The crew looked up. Some started moving to positions, slowly, without the urgency of a normal call. Brando walked in. Different coffee cup. Same calm expression. He went to his mark, set down the coffee, looked at the director. Ready? The director nodded. Let's shoot. No mention of the time, no mention of the wait, just let's shoot. They shot the scene. 2 takes this time. Brando wanted to try something different the second time. Both good. The second better. Print take 2, the director said. Brando nodded, walked to his chair, opened his book. The crew moved to the next setup. A few glances at each other, small shrugs. This was how it worked now. This was the trade. Your time for his performance. Your patience for his presence. Unfair, undeniable, and apparently accepted. Week 4. The pattern was set. Monday, Brando arrived at 10:30, shot his scene in 1 take. Tuesday, 11:15, 2 takes, both excellent. Wednesday, 9:45. The crew almost laughed, only 90 minutes late. They adjusted, brought books, cards, coffee, entertainment for the wait, because there would always be a wait. The producers stopped calculating cost per hour, started calculating cost per scene. The wait expensive. The efficiency afterward balanced some of it, not all, but some. The director stopped preparing speeches, just accepted the trade. 3 hours of your time, 40 seconds of genius. Fair? No. Professional? No. Would he do it again? He didn't know. But he knew he couldn't fire someone who delivered what Brando delivered, and Brando knew he knew. The film wrapped. The editor loved Brando's scenes. The film released. Critics praised it, especially Brando. Nobody knew about the 3-hour waits, the 45,000 in downtime. They just saw the 40 seconds. They waited 3 hours. He gave them 40 seconds. And no one ever asked him about the time again.